Good evening, everyone. Can I please have a motion and a second to reconvene the public meeting?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Can I please have everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence to honor our servicemen and women? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Can I please have the district clerk call the roll?
Mrs. Iannatelli.
Present.
Mrs. Di Lorenzo.
Present.
Mrs. Napolitano-Furno.
Present.
Dr. Centimore.
Present.
Mrs. Matlin.
Present.
Mr. Murphy.
Present.
Mr. Kohifar.
Here.
And Mr. Hauser.
Present.
Thank you. Can I please have a motion and a second to accept the minutes of the January 23rd, 2024 meeting?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. So today we have some special people in the audience that we would like to recognize for some amazing things that they have contributed to our community. And I will let Dr. Centimore take it over from here.
Thank you very much. So we have several wonderful recognitions tonight, starting with one of our proud first graders over at Sycamore, Joey Penna. Actually, come on up.
Joey, come on up, Joey.
Joey, we just wish you weren't so shy. By the way, you have a great first name. Don't let anybody tell you any different.
Congratulations.
Yeah, you can make the rounds. You can, it's like you just scored the Stanley Cup winning goal. Okay. So what I'd like to do right now, since his esteemed building principal is here, Mr. Sheehan, would you please come up to the podium and just tell
Joey.
all of us, Joey, stay up here.
Stay next to Mr. Sheehan.
Yeah, you're stealing the show. You're stealing the show. Come on. And this way we can hear all about the great things that you helped to do over at Sycamore.
I think you have to hit the button.
There we go. So as you all met Joey, he's a very outgoing, amazing boy. So what started with a program? So we have this program called Raz Kids, and what you can do is you do answer questions, and as you answer questions correctly, you get coins. And with those coins, what did you say? Stars, not coins. Sorry.
Mr. Sheehan, can you please give me
All right. So you get stars, and with those stars, you can build your own universe. You can bring characters and buy things for your character. However, what Joey's noticed is that you can donate those stars, and you could donate to the children in need or different organizations that need you. So what Joey did was awesome. He did it all on his own. No one was prompting him. And then what he noticed is that if I can do it, everyone else can do it. So on his own, he started talking to the rest of his class, and he started going up to their computers and saying, look, you can donate your stars. You can donate your stars. Then he took it grade level wise, and he started going up to the rest of the grade. Come up here. All right, here we go.
I donated 4,000 of my stars, and I got a week of food for people. Yeah.
Love it. Yes.
Awesome.
Joey, can you do my monthly videos with me? I think my ratings would shoot up.
Yeah. He'll do our morning announcements too. So Joey, then the whole grade started getting involved. So one little thing started going into the whole grade. Unfortunately, that
Program ended, so we had to think of a new program.
come on up. Yeah.
Again. We had to think of a new program for it. So we began this program where you every $25 you give away a backpack. You gotta ask for sponsors and ask them how much money you want from them. I mean, they want. I mean, they will give, and
I got you. Right.
okay.
So yeah, so then after the program unfortunately ended. So what's amazing about Connect Quad and Sycamore Avenue Elementary is that Joey wanted to continue to give back. So what he did was talk to his teacher, and Miss Steinley and the rest of the grade talked to the parents. And Joey's mom got involved, dad got involved. So the parents, the teachers, and the students came together to figure out how we can now keep giving back. So what they came up with was a reading initiative. So the kids have many books they read or chapters they read, they would get donations from the community. And our community raised over $2,000, our first grade team. So with the $2,000, our social workers came together with the first grade team and the students, and they ordered backpacks, school supplies. And those backpacks are going to our very own Connect Quad, community and those people that are in need. So one of our first grade teachers always say, little hands can do big things. And Joey's a prime example of that. And it's amazing when parents, teachers, and students get together, what amazing things can happen. So I'm extremely inspired by Joey right here.
I have a little certificate for you, Joey. Hold on.
Is it ice cream time?
Have a good night.
Great job. Great job.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Very proud. Very proud. Very proud. And it is a night for us to celebrate so many great things and so many great people. One of our students, one of our many thousands of great students. And we also have an opportunity now to recognize several staff members from our high school for some true heroics. And I'm also happy to see that our high school principal, Ms. Moran, is here to help with this tonight. Ms. Moran, would you like to come up to the podium as we, and if you want to kind of tell the quick story about our 3 staff members and what they did so we can recognize their heroics and then give them a nice certificate of our appreciation as well.
Is this on? Okay. Month or so ago, we had a student with his major medical issue in the building. The student came in like he does always first period. He went up to the library, which is his routine, and Miss Ferrara, who's in the library, was the first to notice that something wasn't right with him. By the way he signed in, by the way he was carrying himself, the lack of conversation that he usually a lot more talkative with Miss Ferrara. He was definitely not himself, and she made a point to see Mrs. Carr, our librarian, and explain that to Mrs. Carr, that he just didn't seem like himself and she was concerned about him. So Mrs. Carr, instead of calling into his first period class, which was with Miss McAlevey, walked down to the class to observe him for her, because she also knows the student well. So Miss Carr went out of her way, went down to the first period class, saw him in the class, saw that he was in fact not himself. Spoke to Miss McAlevey. Miss McAlevey tried talking to him, and she also saw that he was off. Something wasn't right with him. So Miss McAlevey didn't just send him to the nurse. She actually walked him down to the nurse, and she actually had his hand in hers, helping him get down to the nurse's office. When he did get to the nurse's office, the nurses realized what a real medical event was going on, and they called the ambulance. I don't want to speculate what could have happened if they didn't call the ambulance, but these 3 ladies who went above and beyond to make sure that he was taken care of definitely helped what could have been a much worse situation. So thank you for the 3 of those ladies.
You know, we talk about the importance of empowering and entrusting our people. You know, we do all kinds of drills all year long for various emergency situations. But, you know, ultimately you need to trust your people and rely upon their judgment and realize that, you know, the most precious resources on this planet, our children, are in their hands. And, you know, this is an example of how three of our special family members here in Connecticut did a real solid and truly heroic in helping to save a life and make a difference for one of our children. So we thank the three of you, and we'd like you to come up. We have some certificates for you.
All right. Thank you again to everyone. Thank you to Mr. Joey Penna for his courageous fundraising, and to our teachers and staff that went above and beyond. I will now pass the floor to Mr. Hauser for the budget presentation.
Okay, thank you. Okay, good evening. Welcome to the, I think this is our third presentation for the 2024, the following school year budget. This presentation was supposed to take place back on February 12th. Because of the board meeting being postponed, we're going to present it tonight. It's going to focus on two topics. We're going to review enrollment projections, and then we're also going to focus on elementary staffing and class size projections. So just to recap here, where we are in the budget process, we're getting closer and closer to what I would say is April 16th, where we make the final presentation and we actually adopt the budget. So we're less than 60 days away from that. So I highlighted where we are here in the budget calendar. All right, and then enrollment and elementary staffing presentation, and then next board meeting we'll speak about secondary staffing, and we'll actually roll out the first draft of the budget. So just to go through a few items here in the budget development process that we've been focusing on really since January 1st, are just different items, whether it be assessing programs and services to identify our priorities for the budget, trying to consider enhancing programs, some innovative practices, and then our district-wide goals. It's always a struggle, but we always try to determine what our enrollment figures are going to be. And we'll have a slide in a little bit to show you where the district has been, where the district's at, and where we project enrollment to be. We also take a look at our financial reports to see that we're maintaining, I'll say, financial stability year to year. We take a look at our current year revenues and our expenditures to date right now, so to monitor the current year's budget to help us with the following year. We also take a look at our debt, mainly the bonds that we have outstanding and when they're coming due, and if there are any new bonds that are coming on. I'm sure everybody has heard with interest rates starting to, well, they have been going up. Hopefully they'll be coming down, but that's a big portion of our expenditure is interest payments on debts. Over on the right side, We monitor our cash flow reports just to make sure we have the revenues coming in from the town, which is mainly the tax levies and other miscellaneous revenues. We make sure that our revenue projections are on target. Another hot topic is state and federal aid. Back in January, the governor announced her proposed state aid for school districts, and in particular our district being cut. So we hope that that reverses in the next, say, 30 days, and we hear some positive news out of the state legislature. We also take a look at our collective bargaining agreements. So we have a number of bargaining units in the district. I believe most of those units, if not all, have settled their contracts. So we look to see what the effect of those agreements are on the future budgets. We take a look at our multi-year capital plans, especially work that needs to be done around the district, significant work that needs to be done around the district. And then we also take a look at our strategic plans. Okay, I put the slide back in. I did present state aid the last time we spoke at the end of January. I want to say nothing has changed, although we are hearing some positive information. The slide that's up on the screen here shows our initial projections from the governor, where that our state aid was actually going to go down about $250,000. We're hearing, I don't want to say we have anything really concrete yet, that might go the other way.
Mr. Hauser, I'm going to interject if you don't mind,
Sure.
because I think it's an important point to do so. So Connect Quad is not alone in terms of districts, not only on Long Island, but across New York State, that the governor has proposed a cut in state aid. School districts, rely upon some sort of a state aid increase from one year to the next because expenses increase. When a key revenue source such as state aid is cut, that does have a compounding effect. I have to thank this Board of Education for its advocacy, as well as our locally elected officials at the state level in the Senate and the Assembly for their tremendous amount of advocacy. It's a true bipartisan effort. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle or even an independent. Everyone's being affected by this, and ultimately it impacts our kids, our staffing, our programs. And so I too am hearing some positivity, but that doesn't mean we take the foot off the gas. We have to keep making sure that our voices get heard to our elected officials, because they're going to continue to make sure that the governor hears that it's just not acceptable to be cutting state aid. That has to be appropriate, state aid increases from year to year for districts to make ends meet and make their budgets fiscally sustainable.
Thank you. So once again, this just shows state aid, all the different line items that make up our aid. On the left side shows the current year, what we are currently receiving, and then the second column over is the governor's proposal, and then it shows you the changes. The far right side, when we spoke about this once before, we have that 3% hold harmless. That's really for districts that might have seen a decrease in state aid in the past. There's a 3% hold harmless clause that if we were to receive that, you can see that our state aid would have gone up about $1 million too. So we are trying to be optimistic and hopeful that we go from the red and into the black with state aid increase. We also just this is our reserves right now. So I went over this once before, I think at the last meeting as well, just to give everyone another idea or another picture here of how much we actually, quote, have in the bank in reserves. So last June, that's the second column over, June 30th, 2023. When you talk about the school district's total reserves, which is broken up into all these individual categories, we had about $45 million sitting in the bank, okay? The third column over shows you how we went into those reserve accounts and we took out about $11.5 million to actually operate the school district this year. So I tend to use the word subsidize the budget by pulling monies out of these individual reserves. But we took out about $11.5 million. And the big if we don't replenish those reserves, we'll be down, this is the far right column, the bottom, we'll be down to about $34 million. So each year, we do try to replenish these reserves. If we can operate the district with a surplus at the end, we do try to put monies back in there. But we have to keep a close eye on these reserves, because what we don't want is to see them go too low, and then we cannot tap back into them for future years. So,
Mr. Hauser, I'm going to piggyback once again. I know a lot of people out there, I'll speak about myself. I'm a visual person, I'm a visual learner. So I'm going to reiterate what you just said, because as we look at this chart, it reads of our reserves dropping almost $11.5 million. Okay. The books close for a school district roughly around the end of August, early September of the next school year. And that's when a school district knows if there's going to be any fund balance, surplus monies unspent that can then go back to replenish. So right now we have projections, okay, but we don't know the final until those books close again, August, September. And then what you'll see in the early fall is a school district will then take that surplus, that fund balance, and then apply it to either the unassigned or to the various reserves. I don't want to get too technical and that people kind of lose the sight. So even though on paper, on this slide, you are seeing the reserves go down by $11.5 million, that is not going to be the end result. We don't know yet. We got to wait for the books to close. But what Mr. Hauser is saying is if there's nothing left over, then that would be the end result. However, there generally is some semblance of fund balance that then gets reapplied back into the reserves to whatever extent possible. Just wanted to provide a little clarity for the visual learners out there, such as myself.
and thank you for that additional information. All right, so moving along here, this slide is a snapshot of about a month ago, January 26th. I highlighted the column over to the right that says actual enrollment, and it goes building by building, so you can see how many students are actually enrolled. There's other columns here that tell you, for example, the column to the left will tell you how many kids were actually in attendance that particular day. But that column that I highlighted there gives you an idea by building of how many students are actually enrolled in the district. So a month ago, all the way at the bottom, we had 5,311 students enrolled throughout our district. That does not include pre-kindergarten, mainly the scope pre-kindergarten. I believe that's another 185 or so students. Okay, and here's an interesting slide that we tend to update each year. Now, this goes all the way back on the left. If you look at the 2000 on the far left, that is 2007, 2008. This district had enrollment of 6,961 students. Okay, and if you carry that all the way over to the right, you can see we're in that 5,300 category. So the red lines are actual enrollment. All right, and as you go further to the right, you can see that the actual enrollment is starting to increase, all right, which is obviously a good sign. The blue line in there was a BOCES 2018 enrollment study that they did, and the blue line is where BOCES felt the direction we should be going in. So the good news is we are starting to deviate from that BOCES projection back in 2018. And next year, we put 5,394 students in there, which is where we feel we'll be for the start of September.
So just to understand you, so from 2007 to now, we're saying that we're leveling out. What is the true, though, decline? That's what I'm looking for. That we're seeing.
From 2007, 8,
Yeah.
like, what is it, 16, or give or take 1,600 students in that range, 1,600 students?
No, to get the exact. 1567.
Yeah.
So 1,567 students. But yet, we have the most mental health staff that we've had in the last 5 years. I can only speak of that since we have the most admin. I know that because there were positions that were accessed and we brought back. There are assistants to the assistants to the assistants. I'm just trying to understand. So 1,567 students, while I am 4 small classes, especially in the elementary, as you guys know, I've said this for years. I just can't get my head around 1,567 students. Has our staffing declined or no? That was why I was asking for a forensic audit, just so you understood. I didn't know if everybody understood what I know you do, what a forensic audit. I had put an email out, I'll be speaking later on during board discussions, to our business official in regards to a forensic audit, just because this is exactly what I'm talking about. With 1,567 students since that time, as that's declined, even if we are now saying, what are we doing in the way of staffing has gone up? And we have CTA leadership asking for more and more mental health staff. Meanwhile, we have the most mental health staff we've had probably since 2007, which I'd like to know. That would be interesting. That's why I'm saying we had a lot more students and a lot less staff. So I'd like to see what the staffing looks like with this through a forensic audit.
And just to clarify, you're talking instructional, not like clerical, custodial. You don't want to see the total.
Instructional,
Or do you?
since
Yeah.
since here's the thing. In March, well, actually I could say the date because I remember it because it was the day after my birthday, March 10th of 2020, we had a very interesting meeting where the then super had said we could have literally accessed up to 30 instructional people versus and not have class sizes much larger. Was 1, 2, and I fought against it. 100% I did, and I'm glad I did because days later we went into the pandemic. But here we are today, and no matter how we say it, it's even if we say at 2020 we were at 5287 and now we're at 5394, we're still not going up significantly in the way of 2007. But from 2007 to now, we most definitely went up in staffing. Because I know from just 5 years ago, we've added positions that we never had before. We've had to evolve with the technology, and we've had to add those, and that understandably so. We've added much more mental health, which is what I wanted to know. In 2007, how many mental health staff did we have? How many people were here?
If I could just say, I mean, I'm obviously not a mental health expert, but if I had to guess, I would guess that mental health cases have increased since the pandemic. The pandemic did do a big number on a lot of
Absolutely. We're seeing it on the larger scale. We're seeing suicides up amongst all careers, jobs, professions. We're seeing it on the news. We're seeing it. That's not my statement. My statement isn't that I'm against.
I understand.
I always voted.
I would feel like we would have a lot less mental health in 07 than we do now.
Well, but I want to know.
100%.
We have a forensic, first of all, for 5 years I've been on the board, and the only person who has requested a forensic audit in the 5 years that I've been here is Mylin. The only one. Nobody else has even questioned our financial, which I don't understand. So we need to ask for a forensic audit because in 5 years, we've not even asked what's going on. We're down 1,567 students from 2007, but our staffing keeps increasing. How is that possible? How will we, tonight we're going to discuss what we're doing with senior citizens, what we're doing with disabled persons. And I told you, which I'll say here in public, I have a very hard time. I'm not going to be able to vote on something tonight because I need to get a better understanding. But what I will say is, when I see this, it makes me question, not do we need more mental health staff, because I voted yes for all of that, including when we just had a director come and speak to us, and I was one of the first people to say, hey, I'm a yes for whatever you need. But at the same token, I need to understand how we're down 1,567 students, but we have more admin and more instructional staffing. A forensic audit will show you where you're overstaffed, if you're overstaffed, and give a projection of the future. We have to do something. We can't expect our elderly people to leave our community. We can't expect young people to buy in this community if they can't afford it, which we've all just said. What are we doing? We have to make some very tough choices, very tough decisions in the next few years, line by line. Everyone's got to be ready to do that. Can't be ready to, attract your fan base. You have to be ready to make those tough choices.
All right, so talking along the lines here of enrollment, the next slide gives an actual enrollment summary by school building. Mr. Kohler, would you like to explain some of these columns and rows?
I would love to. Thank you. So each of these are the elementary enrollments. Mr. Hauser on a couple of previous slides showed the district-wide enrollment. This has to do with the projected enrollment for next year's elementary class sizes. Using the budget guidelines that have been approved, we did stick with the numbers for K1 and 2 at 22 students per section. And then for grades 3, 4, and 5, we stuck with the number of 24, 25 students per section. And as you can see, in certain areas, we are down sections versus in some areas, we are up sections. But overall, in the elementary program, there will be one fewer in section overall in the entire district. So our numbers continue to stay steady for the most part. And the kindergarten numbers are projections based on what we currently have. So, those may fluctuate depending on what happens during the summertime, during the year from now until June. So we do update this every month. So again, these are the numbers based on end of January.
Can I just ask, so I've always said that I like to see equity across district. And this is where I always come in and I say, we have Cherokee, for instance, and I'm going to use Cherokee. 5th grade, 23 to 24. Jackie just showed me, right? So 23 to 24. And then you have Pearl with 14 to 15. It's such a disparity in how do you tell teachers in Cherokee, which this has happened in the past. We had, I want to say 2 years ago, they had to, more children, and I think it was in one of the lower kindergarten or 1st grade, we had to split before the first day and send out a new teacher. I don't know if you recall.
I do.
And I thought that was terrible. I understand that those kind of things do happen, but if we already know going in that we're going to have 24 students in a 5th grade class in one school, but every other school is going to have 20, 17 to 18, 19, 14 to 15, 22 to 23, so Slocum has it too, but they only have the 2 sections, 18 to 19. Is there a way to look through the budget as we're doing so and see if there is a way to open another section? I mean, we're talking about there's 5 sections. So there's 5 sections of 23, 24. So that could technically go down to 20 if we took from each of the.
Jackie, this speaks to one of these tough decisions that you mentioned, right?
Yeah.
Do we want to add staff or do we want to keep it where the numbers are the numbers? And I understand and respect what you're saying. We're staying within the budget guideline of 24 kids, no more than that in a class. And unfortunately, at a place like Pearl, when there are only 29 fifth graders who are eligible to go there, we certainly don't want to put 29 in a class.
I would never advocate that.
Yeah, and I'm not suggesting you are. I'm saying we all agree
Oh,
we wouldn't
absolutely.
want that. So I don't know
Well, my
how
problem
better to
is,
do it.
these are our numbers for now, okay?
Correct.
These are our numbers for now. We have seen in the past, a week, a month before school, more children being added. Now, I know this because going back, and it's gotta be 3 years now, I think it was one of my kids was in a class where it was 24. And then before before the beginning of the school year, I want to say maybe a month in actually, it went to like 26 or 27 because kids moved here.
Right.
There was other issues, there was issues in another class, we had to move, whatever the case may be. I'm just saying, we need to really maybe keep an eye on that because that 23, 24 could certainly turn into 26, 27. Certainly.
And you're 100% right, and we definitely can continue to look at it. Again, this is only the end of January's enrollment report, so we monitor this throughout the year, and then as you stated, throughout the summer. I would hate to, I do remember the experience where we had a month in and we tried to split a class. That's a bad situation for everybody, and I know that we'll try to avoid that as best we can. But there may be an instance where in August we say, listen, we know you got your class assignment, but we're not going to have to split a class depending on, the numbers, how they play out. And it's the big yellow school bus that rides by that a parent's like, oh yeah, I got to register my kid.
So let me piggyback on what everyone is saying. So, one of the benefits of the budget development process in public schools is that we're able to have these discussions over several months because as we're giving some initial information, this is data to inform decision making. There's also is data to help us as an administrative team bring recommendations over the coming weeks and months because we understand the board's fiduciary responsibility to ultimately adopt the budget and present it to the public for your voting consideration. So if we know as an administrative team that fifth grade at Cherokee is an area of focus, then as we go through the staffing process and where our ultimate recommendations are going to lie, then we know that this is an area of priority, and we'll see if the revenues come in to match the expenditures. Because obviously, as a former principal, I've experienced that as well, where you really hate those late August and certainly once school starts surprises, especially at the elementary level, where it's just not a reality under most circumstances to start taking kids out of a class and creating a new section.
Well, it's also very difficult. I mean, as one of the only North parents up here and one of the only Cherokee moms up here, I can honestly tell you, even though I haven't been a Cherokee mom for years, it's a very special place, and 633 students go there. It is by far, our largest elementary. We're looking at Basti, 269, Duffield, 345, Idlehour, 222, Pearl, 187, Slocum, 244, Sycamore, 403. Cherokee is the largest. This school, and I mean, I'm not looking at the secondary yet, but I believe if I'm not wrong, that number is bigger than OBMS right now, and just under, and RMS is larger by maybe 100, if that, but OBMS I thought is less than that.
It is. It's currently enrolled at 586.
So I mean, I'm just saying, Cherokee is busting at the seams. What are we, as a board, collectively doing to help that school? And last time I was there, I was told that there wasn't one classroom that was available, right?
Well, thankfully, again, one of the things that the board did was reinstate that assistant principal at Cherokee.
Well,
And I know you talked about administrative and we cut and, we
100%.
brought back, but RMS has an AP.
Well,
It makes sense that Cherokee would.
That was, and it's recorded on public. I voted to keep the Cherokee AP, and I was outvoted that year when that position was accessed. I was not in favor of removing an AP from an elementary school that's quite larger. It's double in size, to almost all except for Sycamore, and Duffield is just under. It's 345. It's just over. But not for nothing, everyone else has either a third to less than half. I mean, I'm just saying it's a giant elementary school. It's a wonderful elementary school. They all are. But let's be real here. We need to start to look at. I'm just saying this needs to be looked at. I think the number needs to be looked at, and I also think that we need to keep in mind, if possible, to do what we did years ago, if there's board support, for a teacher, any teacher who has 24 students or more, 25 students, and wants a TA in the classroom to help. I think that should be offered. And I don't think it should be frowned upon. I know in the past I've heard, oh, thank you, Jackie, but at the same time, I'm not going to ask for it, because if I ask, it shouldn't even. It should be, we'd like to put a TA in your classroom. Would you be for it? We should be encouraging it.
We still support that. We just don't have the class sizes that need or warrant the TA. But we have always subscribed to that theory, so we will continue to do so.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, so this is the final slide, which is a slide that we've included in prior presentations, but it just documents the budget guidelines, and in particular, the section that relates to elementary enrollment up at the top. So when we have our K through 2 at 22 and under, and we have our grades 3 through 5 at 25 and under, we're actually using this budget guideline document to guide the conversation. Final slide. Does anyone on the board have any more questions, comments about the budget?
Yeah, I actually have a few questions. Going back to the chart on state aid, the governor's executive budget proposal. Okay, what if you could just explain what is high cost excess and private excess? What are those?
So the high cost excess would most likely be classified students, like special education students, and the additional costs that are incurred. I'll say related services, maybe speech, occupational therapy, physical therapy services. The private excess would be students who go to another school outside of Connecticut that we probably have an agreement with the parent to send the student there. And those excess costs that are incurred for that classified student, I'll say, who's at that school outside of Connecticut.
Okay.
So we get aid back on those expenditures.
Okay, thank you. And my other question too, we have the change in the foundation aid and any kind of shortage, are we gonna have to cut budget lines anywhere to move things around to, compensate for that loss? Are we looking at that happening possibly, and where we might have to cut anywhere on the budget? Would we have to do that?
So, we've been taking this day by day since the governor came out with her announcement with state aid, because we know just historically it's not the final amounts. Even line by line here, they change. The state legislature, the Assembly, and the Senate should have the state budget adopted before March 31st, because the state has its own budget that begins on April 1st. So it would be nice if they communicated with us, a week or two before March 31st, what our state aid numbers are going to be. But we have been in touch with a consultant from state school aid specialist who is guiding us here, that we may see some of these numbers change. The state updates a database. It just did the other day in February. So we're patiently waiting for the next run to come out, and hopefully we'll see more positive news.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we are obligated to present a balanced budget to the board for your consideration for adoption, and then you then take that same responsibility to the public, where the revenues or things such as the application of reserves and fund balance, which basically become quasi revenues, match the expenditures. It's just like your home personal finances, editing a few zeros at the end. Not to oversimplify, but so it does require us as an administrative team, and it goes down to the building level, the building administration, the department administration, to look at needs, to look at areas that we've been spending. Are there places where we don't need to budget as much in that code, but we do need it in another code? And so, to answer your question, Ms. DiLorenzo, is yes, we are taking a look at these codes and seeing where adjustments need to be made in order to, at the end of the day, bring a balanced budget recommendation in April for your consideration.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, moving on to our student government update.
There are no current updates at the moment. We will have stuff to say at the next meeting. Thank you.
Why did you tell everybody about Model UN? I was going to say something about that. Go ahead.
So basically, we had our conference February 10th, and unfortunately, our plans to have Angie Carpenter, our town legislator, speak fell through. So that's the plan for next year. But it was good. We had a bunch of schools come and debate about international politics and different topics. So it was really cool having new schools, even schools in the city, come out. So it was just a good event, seeing new faces, the same faces, and just interacting with new people. So it was definitely really fun. And thank you for coming. We definitely enjoyed having you there. Thank
I
you.
enjoyed being there. Very proud of everybody. You should have seen how professionally dressed everybody was. Yes, and just real quick, tell everybody this was so cool. So I'd rather it come from you than
Okay.
come from me. Just tell them real quick, how it was set up. I think there was 7 to 9 schools there, so it was a pretty good turnout of schools. That sound about right?
Yes, I
And
believe
just some of the different themes that all of you had to debate in these
yes.
different rooms. Just give a quick little synopsis.
So basically, Model UN is a mock of the United Nations. So in the UN, there are different assemblies. So NATO is considered one, Security Council, Women's Council, WHO, UNICEF. So basically, there are chairs. So they run a committee. So I know there was security, general, women's. So in those committee, there were subtopics. So different delegates from different schools got assigned one country in that committee, and they spoke about their country's point of view regarding a certain topic. So it's definitely cool as the person going in, taking photos, hearing different countries' opinions on different things, considering I was the one looking over everyone's background guides, that the piece of information that was getting shot out to those 10 schools. So it's definitely cool, and I enjoyed it, kind of footing everything with Mr. Lieberman. We couldn't do without him, and we're very glad for him. So any questions about Model UN or what it is?
No, I'm just sorry I had to miss it this year. I
It's
was
okay.
away, but it is one of my favorite events that you guys put
yes.
together. I do love seeing everybody in their
Yes,
business
the
attire.
slideshow at the end, that was a really good part.
Yeah,
Yes. Thank you.
Great job. Great job.
thank you. Superintendent update, Dr. Centimore?
Yeah, so it's been a great evening. Obviously, we highlighted young Joey Penner and our heroic staff at the high school. Just got a beautiful overview on how outstanding Model UN was. Very proud of our staff and especially our students. And it's nice the fact that we hosted this event and we got to showcase what ConnectQuad is all about, and just a proud moment. So, listen, it's been a very busy several weeks, a month and change. I know we didn't have a board meeting a few weeks ago. I'll try to be robust and succinct. We had an outstanding district-wide jazz concert, middle school, high school students. They performed for over 3 hours of magnificent, beautiful jazz music. It was a wonderful benefit for the John Michael Asher Memorial Scholarship. Once again, our music program shines. Our theater program, OBMS, had the musical Newsies. You forget, just like when Rock went several weeks prior, you forget these are middle school students performing. Absolutely incredible. Kudos to their director and staff and all those amazing student performers at OBMS. The high school has had numerous college-related, preparation-related events, evenings for students and parents, from the overall preparation to the financial aid process to information about scholarship. Really nice job by our guidance department and high school helping families and students with that. It's almost a month now. It's hard to believe it's been that long, but we held a very serious meeting presentation. We hosted the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office for the anti-drugs and fentanyl workshop that our anti-drug and alcohol task force helped to coordinate. It was streamed, so a lot of people had a chance. I believe it was also recorded. A pretty good attendance. We certainly promoted it. An important theme: no community anywhere, certainly in this country, is immune from these type of things. And while we celebrate all the tremendous accomplishments, we also have to pause and focus in on some of the challenges and concerns, some of the threats to the health and safety of our children and our community at large. So I like to thank certainly Mr. Modica, certainly the Anti-Drug and Alcohol Task Force, and especially the DA's office for coming in and presenting. I do know that they're going to be working on in the near future bringing this in for our student body at the high school during the day, which would be really, really fabulous. And thank you to the Board of Education for the entire board being there that evening and sending that important message to our community. We recently, through our curriculum department and our directors, had a literacy night over at Pearl for the entire district with information regarding elementary math and obviously literacy. At the next board meeting, we'll have the elementary presentation on academics. Looking forward to that. February was really a beautiful month filled with compassion and passion. We had lots of great activities in all of our schools. And, right before the break, it started at OBMS. And then near the end of the week, it was also over at the high school. We had several staff, students, coaches collect hundreds and hundreds of hats, something called Operation Hat Drop. Yeah, Operation Hat Drop. A really nice cause started by a young man in Massapequa to donate hats across the country to young people who are suffering from the alopecia hair loss. So it was a great opportunity for Connecticut to partner, with a young man and an organization that benefits the across the nation. A very proud moment. Again, high school and middle school students, beautiful. I had the opportunity to see our cheerleaders in competition not too long ago, and they recently also went down and competed in the Nationals in Orlando. We're very proud of them. Our kick line has had a lot of success as well. I got to see them. They had a first place in jazz, a second place in another category. So really a great job by our kick line as well. Girls basketball recently made the playoffs. We had a wrestler and I believe 4 swimmers go to states. Track has state and national qualifiers, and I know Mr. Mallory is very eager to give a very robust update, probably on March 12th, about all of our accolades with our winter athletics. We're very proud of all of our winter sports, including our middle schools. And what's very cool is that when you have 2 middle schools, is that some of the sports they get to compete against each other. I like to call it the Battle of Connecticut. So we've had that in basketball. We recently had it in volleyball. It's very cool, and it's a nice little inter-community rivalry. But at the end of the day, we're all winners, and everybody says, "Who you rooting for?" Well, I root for Connecticut. So and then with the recent volleyball one, I actually went to like mid-court, and I had one leg on one side and one leg on the other as I was standing. And if I went towards one side, I timed it. Okay, I'm here for like 1 minute. I got to step to the other side for a minute. Good stuff. We're very proud of everybody. A lot of fun. Speaking of a lot of fun, 48 hours from now, I hope everybody's been stretching who's participating. All right. I've been stretching for several months.
God help.
Yes, absolutely. The PTA, our PTA council, all of our school PTAs, 10 buildings strong. We are hosting the Harlem Wizards this Wednesday night at the high school. I believe it's sold out, over 800 tickets. Kudos to our PTA. And we have around 50, give or take, staff members from all of our schools, administrators, board members who are participating. So beautiful to see the entire Connecticut community come together. We promised the Harlem Wizards that the Connecticut Thunderbird Dream Team would take it easy on them. We may go at half speed. To make sure we put on a good show. it's going to be very exciting, and we appreciate everybody. I always like to try to give a shout out to all of our community organizations, so obviously PTA, SEPTA, Orba with our music and art boosters, all of our athletic boosters, and all of our very active civic associations throughout the district for all you do for our students in the community. Greatly appreciated. So as we then move into March, I know we have a career night at the high school. I know at least one of our elementary schools is doing something very cool with a career day during the day. We have pop concerts with our middle schools throughout March. And then here we go again with the high school musical production of Mamma Mia, one of my favorite shows. I can't wait. This is my first Connecticut High School musical. And when I see how outstanding our middle school performers are, I can't wait to see the high school. I am chomping at the bit. I really can't wait. Very excited. Lots of awesome things happening here in Connecticut. And we appreciate the support from our parents and our community. A couple quick things that after I mention them, I'm going to pass the baton over to Mr. Hauser once again. So I've mentioned it a couple times, but you're now going to see, was it 9 vans, Bob, Mr. Hauser? There's a program called the Stop Arm Camera Bus Safety Initiative Program. If unfortunately you were one of those vehicles, I'm speaking to the adults out there who might have accidentally driven past a stop school bus that had the arm extended with the stop sign. Let's say you accidentally did it. What we're hoping is that this awareness to help expand your line of vision, so you're aware, of that when a school bus is stopped and the stop sign arm is extended, everybody needs to stop. So they did put the town, right? Was it the county or the town, Mr. Hauser, that put the fines in place? The county. So they put the fines in place, and some of that money does come back to school districts, but it's very specific how you can spend the money. It has to be tied back into safety awareness, especially bus safety awareness, especially awareness connected to stopping when you see a school bus stop, especially when its stop arm is extended. So part of that money has been used to, we have a number of white delivery vehicles, vans, that now have a wrapping. I think Mr. Hauser is going to put an image or so on the screen. So when you see this, there are no children on these vans. This is a wrapping to promote awareness. These are delivery vehicles, and we just want to make everybody aware. Please stop. When the buses stop, especially when that arm is out. If we could prevent even one accident from happening, then it's all the worthwhile. And that's, an important message we're trying to send with that. Well, please.
I just want to say, I think that they look fantastic. Coming from a different angle, viewing it from a different lens. For years, I have seen so many bad accidents, so many young people and older people, and just parents, children having almost gotten hit by cars or gotten hit by cars because they couldn't see them, and people go around the buses. The police are not always there, can't be everywhere all the time. So the arm cameras were a wonderful thing. I think they also have helped really overall stop people from going around because people are afraid now. They don't know which buses have them and which don't. And something like this is fantastic. I understand that April had brought it to your attention, and about the eyesore or whatever the issue was. But me personally, that is a safety and security, beautiful driving billboard to say, protect our students, kids ahead. It's kind of like when you put the little guy out there when your children are riding their bikes and you say, slow down. So that is a fantastic way to get people to understand that stop on red, kids ahead. This is a serious thing. Somebody could get killed. I mean, we talk about Ocean Avenue over and over again where we've had so many accidents and problems. That's perfect to say, hey, look, and when they're not being used, if we used to park vehicles like that to deter it from happening. That's excellent. And whoever came up with it, great job.
So we are going to be working further with Syntax, our PR company, to further promote bus safety, stop arm safety. So there'll probably be some more information that'll come up. But if you see the white vans, you understand the purpose of that wrapping and that signage. So the other thing that I tried to put out a couple of quick, and I know they were very simple and generic, but just to kind of let the community know that we're on top of this, we're going to be rolling it out in a couple of days, and Mr. Hauser is going to give you some detail, is the opportunity for the district to implement a free breakfast and lunch program across the district. This has not been an easy thing to plan and or implement. For some districts it might be easier than others. Certainly for us, there were a lot of logistics involved because you do have to have the breakfast component simultaneous with the lunch. And I believe we've only had one building that had the breakfast program in place. There is a staffing component. You need to have, the workers to do it. There was an entire application process with calculations, and so we are going to roll this out for the remainder of this school year, starting this Friday. And Mr. Hauser will have a couple of slides in a moment, and he'll give you a little bit more detail. And then in the next couple of days, tomorrow you'll get more information. Will go out from Mr. Hauser. And that'll be followed by some of the logistical specifics that'll be right from the building. We have 10 schools, and so how it looks in each building may be a little bit different, certainly at the elementary and secondary level. So it is happening this Friday. Mr. Hauser will give you some details. Information will be coming over the next 48 hours as well. But I didn't want the community to think that, the district by any way, shape, or form was dragging its feet. It was a bit of a complicated process and a lot of logistics involved. Mr. Hauser.
Thank you. So just to elaborate a little more and keep this robust and succinct, there's an acronym CEP, which is up at the top here, Community Eligibility Provision. It has been out for a number of years for any school district that wanted to apply. The big difference was in prior years, 40% of the student population had to be direct certified for Medicaid, New York State, or I'll say SNAP, welfare type benefits. So 40% of the student population in a particular school building. You could have at one point expanded that to the entire district, that 40% of the students were eligible as well. But recently, in the fall, the state and the federal government changed that threshold, and they brought it down to 25%. So not only did they keep the two groups of students, the direct certified Medicaid and the SNAP, but they also added 5 other components, which are migrant, homeless, foster, and runaway. To the calculation as well. So they expanded the number of students who could be eligible. When we first heard about this in the late fall, we were told that maybe at best one school would qualify. Once we did our homework and we looked at every single school building individually, and we went into the different databases where the students could be direct certified, we were able to put together an application with the New York State Office of Child Nutrition, where we were able to apply as a group of 9 schools out of 10. Unfortunately, if we would have included all 10 school buildings, we would have fell below the 25% threshold, and no school would have been eligible at that point. So we had to remove a school building idle hour from the calculation. And therefore, the final percentage was 24.04. So I couldn't get any better than that in terms of meeting the 25%. So 9 school buildings are eligible under the CEP program, and the remaining school building is going to qualify under a separate program called the Paid Lunch Equity Waiver, which also includes breakfast. So from an equity perspective, across the district, as Dr. Centimore said, all students will be receiving a free breakfast and a free lunch. Even though the pre-kindergarten, the scope students were not included in the application, we're going to do our best for the remainder of the school year to to have those students participate in this as well. So as Dr. Sedamore said, Friday, March 1st is the official go, and we will start the announcements first thing tomorrow morning. And there will also be separate announcements building by building, since this will take on a different look, especially in some of the elementary schools as we work out the logistics.
I have a few questions.
Same. But just to clarify, Mr. Hauser, the pre-K and the idle hour is only for the remainder of this year for now?
Yes, so when we talk about idle hour, that paid lunch equity waiver, which has been in place even pre-COVID, that waiver actually is set to expire June 30th, but it has been renewed for a number of years. So we're cautiously optimistic that it will renew for the following school year. If it doesn't, we've already done the financial, I'll say, analysis as to what it would cost for the district to absorb the cost of those meals just for that one school. So that would be a backup plan, I'll say, for September.
And when you say the district, you mean the taxpayers, correct?
I want to be careful about that, because I believe with the financial analysis that has been done, that the school lunch program, which is a separate bucket of incoming money and monies that go out, under the CEP, it will be a self-sustaining program. We should not have to rely on taxpayer monies to fund the school lunch program, as we've done that in prior years. The last 3 years, we haven't had to do that. So I'm very optimistic that once this program gets underway and we achieve even more participation from the students, that the program will be self-funding and even able to pick up the cost of those meals at that one school.
That's great.
Can you tell me how much New York State's giving us per student for breakfast and lunch? Is it a combined amount, or is it one, a certain amount for breakfast and a certain amount for lunch?
Okay, I think I have that number here. So New York State, we're going to be getting $2.28 for a breakfast meal. Okay. And we're going to get $4.25 for a lunch meal. That's the total reimbursement rate. To try to keep the dollars simple, we pay Aramark, I think $1.30 for a breakfast and $1.35 for a lunch. So at $2.28 for a breakfast, the reimbursement, and $1.30 going out, what is that? High mathematics, 98 cents or something like that. We'll make about $1 on each breakfast. I'll call that like a gross profit, because we still have to pay for the labor and all the benefits with that dollar. And then for the lunch, it's almost $3. When you think of the $1.35 versus the $1.25, just shy of $3 per meal is the reimbursement rate under CEP. So the more students who participate in this, obviously that's more of a reimbursement back to the program.
So I just want to, put it on record that I am not a fan of this business plan. Also, I am questioning the fact that we knew about this in the fall and we actually didn't create a business plan, and we now shuffled everything in January trying to figure it out. So I don't understand, why didn't we have a business plan in place in the fall knowing that we applied for this program? Why didn't we come up with something?
Well, number one, we met all the application deadlines here. So, and districts had up until December 15th to apply for the program, but you could not apply unless you had every roster for every school building cleaned. You had to go through each of those 7 categories with students, and you had to make sure that you were not in any way doubling up on students. You had to make sure that your rosters did not have any students that had left the district.
Yeah, no.
So-
I'm not asking about the process. I apologize, Bob.
Right.
What I meant is that our business plan to come up with the fact that the extra money in labor, the extra money in insurance costs, all that stuff. The fact that we had months to do it and we didn't take care of it until all of a sudden January came and we were shuffling now to figure it out. we came up with a business plan that is gonna cost the district. So this extra money, it winds up going to the extra labor and the extra insurance costs. Whereas if maybe another business plan wouldn't have, and we could have had the extra money to go towards academics or other things for the students.
April, we were gonna have to do this, once we put this in place.
Jax, can I
You're
finish,
going
please?
at him
Can I finish,
as
please?
if he,
Can I finish,
you're
please?
going at him
Jax, is it
in a
okay if I
very
have my turn?
unprofessional manner.
Can I have my
As
turn?
you like to use
Can I
unprofessional,
please have
very
my turn?
unprofessional.
Jackie, please don't
And
interrupt me.
it's very
You can
unprofessional what
speak
you're
after I'm
doing.
done.
It's very
No problem
unprofessional
with
what
that.
you're doing.
Can we have one
Very
speaker at a
unprofessional what you're
Bob,
doing.
I just don't understand.
Can we have one person
You
at a
don't
time
understand
speak?
You
that.
don't know
Can you explain
finances.
that?
You
Can
don't know finance. Jackie, stop pretending you
Can
do.
we have one person at a time, please speak?
Well, then she should show some respect to
Please
our business
explain that to
official. He's earned it.
Thank you.
All right, so I think what would help Mr. Hauser is explaining not only to the board, but for the public to hear as well, the different funds, the general fund and the cafeteria fund, and how they work independently and how they don't generally, for the most part, overlap with one another.
So the school lunch fund, we happen to call that the C fund at the school. The revenues that come into that fund, which might be a student who actually pays for a meal, that's not going to be the case anymore, or a student who pays for a snack, which will still be the case. The snacks are not free. Or it could be the state reimbursing us. Those monies are dedicated to that school lunch fund. Same thing with the expenditures that go out. They're specifically for the school lunch fund. We cannot take from one bucket, and we can't take from the school lunch fund if it has a surplus one year and put it into an instructional program. That's not permitted.
Thank you, Bob. I think the problem is that also we need to let the community know that April sent an email, I'm not mistaken on this, demanding to know, so unprofessional that it should really be foiled, that you guys pretty much blaming the district. Why are we not doing free lunch? Why are we not doing? And I recall answering on that email
Blaming
and
the
making
community asked me a
statements.
question.
How are you interrupting
I don't
unprofessional
turn.
code of conduct?
You
Code
decided
of conduct,
to
April,
Take your
code of
turn,
conduct.
Jackie.
Wait, take your turn, I'm speaking. It's code of conduct. Go follow the code of conduct. You tell me it's unprofessional. Well, I'm speaking to.
No, I understand.
Thank you. So, Mr. Hauser, I appreciate all that you do, considering you have one of the biggest jobs in this district. For anyone who can't even pay taxes right, to question you is insanity. It's beyond insanity. That's first of all. Second of all, you have, for the last few years that I've been here with you, been extremely professional and put up with a lot of questions and some very terrible behavior. And I just want to say thank you. But number two, we have a board member who in public is saying, I'm not for the school lunch program. I'm not for
No, that's
this.
not what I'm saying.
But yet she was very clear in her email when she demanded, where is our lunch? Where is our lunch? No, this was a demand.
No, I think she was
Talking very rudely to our superintendent and to our assistant super, who are both doing all they can because you don't
speak to me.
understand.
Don't speak to
You
me.
are here for a few months.
It's you who doesn't.
You do not know what you're talking about.
No, you
So
have.
maybe you should learn. Learn. You know how Jackie does her research and learns?
No,
You
I
don't
don't.
learn. You speak before learning.
I need you
Learn.
I think that
Learn.
Ms. Iannatelli in that email was just trying to understand why the program and
Please, Marisol, please,
the way I am
enough
now.
of you giving us your perspective. Then read the email or have people let them see for themselves. Your perspective is tainted. Let's be truthful. Let's be truthful here.
Let me tell the truth since
She
I
was
heard it.
demanding
Then I'm
the
right
lunch
here.
program like this to be done when we were explaining we don't have the staffing, we
community
don't have this, we
knew
don't have
that
that.
the lunch
She was
program was
demand-
approved.
How rude. Didn't you just
I,
say,
due to
don't,
the fact that the
didn't you
community
just say,
came
no,
to
you
me,
tell
that's
us,
my
Can you just please have one at a time?
I'm going to,
So I'm talking,
I'm going.
I'm talking, and you talk next.
April, I said you will have your, you will have your turn.
No, it wasn't your turn. I'm talking to Mr. Hauser. Too bad. No, actually, you're being very unprofessional. Code of conduct. Do you want an investigation done on you? Jackie, please, code of conduct. Code of conduct. Didn't you say that? Didn't you? Ladies,
You are.
wait, disagreements. You don't know what you're talking about.
Rex, can you stop
Read your
speaking
email.
about me or about me?
Excuse me, we are not friends. Please identify me, Mrs. Iannatelli, like I would do you.
Miss Furno, please stop.
My name is Napolitano, Furno, and I like to be called Mrs. Napolitano. Okay.
Can I just, for clarity purposes,
Well, I don't care if you ask.
Mr.
That was
Hauser,
just extremely rude and
when we first
unprofessional.
were looking
So
at
shut
the
your
numbers-
mic off and be unprofessional.
hold. When we were first looking at the numbers, we were under the impression that we were most likely not going to qualify. And then upon further looking at the numbers, which is what pushed us a little further along the process, we saw that more and more schools would be available. And then by the time we got accepted, now we were under crunch time. Is that how I understood it correctly?
Yeah, I mean, we learned as we started to fill out the rosters that there was the possibility more school buildings would qualify for this. So what went from one school building in late November to 9, within, I'll say, a 60-day period was pretty dramatic to be able to get that approval.
There was also a question, and we were getting legal guidance at this time because we weren't at the point of 9 buildings qualifying and one building that we could benefit from the other program. We were worried about an equity issue and honestly, any legalities around that. And it was also the fact that you could only start this program on the 1st of the month. If you wanted to start it February 2nd, you weren't allowed. We would have loved to have started it, if not February 1, today, February 26th. But we were not allowed to because you're only allowed to start this program clean on the first day of a month.
Wasn't this the issue?
Gosh.
Wasn't the issue that Dr. Sensimore, we had an email sent demanding to know why it wasn't started already.
Yes, because
I'm speaking code of conduct. Please be professional, Mrs. Iannatelli. Please be professional. This is so unprofessional. You're yelling and screaming. Do you need
sorry.
help?
I'm sorry.
Do you need help?
I thought you
Okay,
couldn't hear
that-
me.
Do you need help?
This is just getting way unprofessional, way out of line.
Well,
Please,
I
one at a
would
time,
like,
please.
Marisol, I would like you to jump in and not wait unless it's me speaking, because you're extremely unfair and don't know how to be fair. Leadership skills are something that are learned. Please learn them, because you're sitting here and having her go on and on when I had the mic on ready to go.
There's no one else jumping in, so
Okay, jumping on you now too.
can we just please resume the professionalism and run out of
Meeting
time?
professionally.
Yes.
Can you try that? Okay. But I'm going to say this again. Mr. Hauser, Dr. Sensimore, an email went out by a board member, Mrs. Iannatelli. It can be foiled. And it was stating, I want to know why we don't have lunch, very abrasively. For no reason, rather than as a new board member saying, hey, listen, what's going on with the lunch? We have some people questioning it. We'd like to know what's going on. Could you explain some things to us? We don't understand fully the CEP program. That is why we pay for a business official who has a lot more knowledge than a brand new board member. So I think that that's where the problem comes in, is we're all making excuses. Mr. Hauser, you did a fabulous job. I think people don't understand that we didn't have all the buildings. And if it was up to one board member, we would have just ran with it when only 3 or 4 buildings could have had it, which would have been not equitable across the district, which maybe the other ones then wouldn't have been able to jump on, and that would have been unfair. And we have to get everything in place, including, but not limited to, staffing concerns. There is a lack of staff. We have 10 people at the high school, I was told when we were there the other day, as opposed to a kitchen that runs with 20. As a kitchen that runs with 20, we're asking 10 ladies to do what 20 do. And if it was up to Mrs. Iannatelli, we wouldn't give them any extra funding either.
Speak for me.
Oh, no, you're about the funding? You don't want to go there, because I'll tell them to play those too.
Now I can speak.
Please do, but just speak.
I got an email from the community members asking me
Speak now.
to find out why the program didn't start. We did not know. We did not find out until I did ask about these issues that were going on. Second,
Not true.
I don't agree with the business
We all
plan.
knew
I
about
agree with
this.
the free lunch. I don't agree with the business plan. We right now have split shifts at the high school. I didn't understand why we weren't looking into that avenue.
You didn't want to give staffing. You don't want to give staffing. No, she does not want to give staffing health care
Let her make
benefits.
her point because you got to water.
Right,
Oh my
okay.
gosh,
You want people to work,
staff
more hours, have more work, but they're not entitled to health care.
If
Options or benefits under their contract.
This is literally not productive.
It's
We
embarrassing.
need April to finish, and then you can counteract whatever she says. Just
Thank you for standing up now and saying something, but when it's the other way around,
I said to April to let you wait too.
sit there quietly, like the mouse you
And I
are.
let you speak, but you said that.
You are not a leader.
That's
You
fine.
are not.
That's
We
fine.
all see what's going on, Marisol. Campaign away.
Okay.
Campaign
Now,
away.
Marisol, I
You want to
apologize.
sit here and you want to pretend that she is against our staff. It's disgusting.
Jacqueline, that's
Right
not
now,
her finish.
our staff.
You can speak after.
Again, against our staff.
Accusing me of against our staff when I had
Tell
their
the
was
truth.
on the lunch staff.
Let's tell the truth. You wanted us to come up with a creative plan. You just did it. You
Yes.
have these ideas.
Yes.
So you want to take a union and you want to tell a union workers that we can't even get. We have 10 people at the high school, not 20, 10. We want to tell them, now we're going to make you work 8 hours a day. Oh, wait a second. We're going to make you work 4 hours in the morning for breakfast and you work 4 hours at night. Guess what? Now we only have 5 workers on each shift. Are you going to put on an apron? Because you should. You should go up there and help people that you treat very, very poorly. I would never
care
treat
about
our
your
staff like
opinion,
that.
Jax.
You are a
You
disgrace.
know, you speak about them behind their back.
You are a
Either
disgrace.
way,
Never happened. I treat the CEO,
Done.
Dr.
Conversation.
Benjamin,
I
the
apologize.
same way I would treat a custodian, the same way I would treat a lunch person, with the utmost respect. I don't treat you with respect because you have not earned it.
Does anybody else have anything for Dr. Hauser, Mr. Hauser? Thank you, Mr. Hauser.
I had a
Oh, go ahead.
questions, I'm sorry. Let me just go back to questions here. Okay, I know we talked about that, we only have the one school that offers the breakfast right now, the high school. So I do have, just, I don't know if you have a plan, I mean, you must have a plan in place, we'll start right away, but what are the logistics of being able to actually provide the breakfast for the other schools? Where are they gonna fit that into their schedule, the elementaries and the middle school? How is that gonna work?
So, great question. And we have met several times with each building principal, from the elementary schools, middle school, even up to the high school, to try to get their opinion, their thoughts as to how the program, especially the breakfast program, will work in their school building. And it's not, every building's going to fit into the same mold here. It's going to be a little different. For the most part, just to keep it simple, we're going to be offering what's called a cold breakfast. All right, so it'll be 2 options. A cereal bar might be in one bag. Let's say a buttered bagel might be in the other. And these options will switch. The elementary students will be placing their order the day before, so that the school lunch staff have time to prepare the breakfast for the next morning. The breakfast will be in bags, all right? So in some buildings, as the students come off the bus, they will be guided to the cafeteria serving line if they want breakfast. They will grab the breakfast bag that they ordered the day before. In some buildings, they're going to go into the cafeteria and they're going to sit and they're going to eat. Other buildings, they don't feel they either have the supervision or the staff to be with the kids, and they want the kids to go into the classroom. So we do have 2 different models, and some of this is going to depend too on the the volume, the number of kids who decide to take advantage of the breakfast. The cafeterias, and for the most part, don't have the capacity to handle, if every kid in the building wanted to eat at once. So it's going to look a little different in each building, even from a custodial perspective. How does a custodian clean up an entire cafeteria versus now going into individual classrooms having to pick up? So we have asked the building principals tomorrow afternoon, after the district announcement goes out, that the building principals communicate with the parents and the students as to how they want it to work in their school building.
I would think that having lunch in the breakfast in the classroom would be similar to having the snack as far as cleanup goes, because the elementaries have their snacks in their classroom now.
I'm not so familiar with snack, and it's probably later on in the day, because we even thought about combining that, instead of having a breakfast time, combining it later on with the snack. But I don't know for sure if it's identically similar,
We had brought up Jackie DiLorenzo, Mrs. DiLorenzo, and myself went with you and Dr. Sentimore. Thank you both. Took us to the middle schools and the high school to check school lunch. And when doing so, we had brought up to the, I believe it was the manager of the lunchroom at the high school or lunch program, and also the one who runs our ARMUC. And I remember us asking, and I don't know if you were able to find out, about the way that we used to do lunch during COVID when we were ordering in advance. I didn't know if that's something that the lunch program thinks is worth it. I know that you said they had to buy the program, or if it was something that it really wouldn't benefit. I mean, that's something I think that maybe if you spoke to the lunch people, they would know better if the lunch ladies feel like that's helpful to be able to maybe get some of the grab and go stuff, at least in the elementary. When I remember when we went to Cherokee, they had those, what was it called? The little in the bag, the waffles.
Yes.
The waffles in the bag and stuff. That was actually a lunch. Something like that doesn't need to be. They might be able to. I just said mostly more so that they had an approximate of how much they needed, just in case this becomes an overabundance of lunches. Now that it's free, you might see more kids buying. Obviously, because they could just go up and buy.
We're trying to be flexible here. This is brand new to every school building, except for the high school, really, which has already had breakfast. But and for the most part, we feel very confident lunch will be, I'll say, seamless, because we've already been serving the lunches. It's just the volume and of course the staffing. We know we can. We have a minimum amount of staff who we feel we need. I think we have to be flexible and keep that in mind, that if it becomes too overwhelming, we've got to be able to expand that as well.
And what is the overall cost? I know that we can't get into a lot of things, but I think some people don't understand. So we have some board members who really do not understand contracts. And I don't think they understand unions and why there are unions to fight for these contracts, for people to have. Unions were made years ago to protect their membership. I'm not saying that we should, not look for other ways to save money, but I think that we are seriously going down a poor path if we start saying, let's take, for instance, and I'm just using the high school, and do things like April had suggested, which was, give them 4 hours here and 4 hours there. What are we doing? So we're now taking 10 people and really having 5 working at a time. That's not conducive by no means in a kitchen that needs 20 people to now think you're gonna cut corners. This program came down and we have adopted it. We have taken it on. I understand that there's going to be a cost through staffing, but that's something that we need to now go line by line to see what we have to do. Like we would any other unit. We would not be trying to not give benefits or whatever the case may be to another unit. We would not be trying to not follow contract. So why are we even entertaining a board member's thoughts like this? That could potentially get you into much deeper waters and get into trouble by not following the contractual agreement that's already in place. That itself could get us into having a grievance.
Jackie, any more? Or Ms. DiLorenzo?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hauser. Moving on to Board of Ed topics. ES BOCES call for nominations. Ms. Kemp?
Thank you. So just so the board is aware, you've received this paperwork too, and just kind of to put it out to the community, there are currently, or starting July 1st of 2024, there will be 7 open seats for the Eastern Suffolk BOCES board. 5 of those seats are expiring June 30th of this year. 1 seat is expiring June 30th of 2025, and 1 seat is expiring June 30th of 2026. Those 2 additional are due to unfortunate passings of currently seated board members, Eastern Suffolk BOCES board members. So if you as a community members are interested in being nominated by this Board of Education for the Eastern Suffolk BOCES board, please contact me. You can email me or give me a call by March 8th. The board will have to act at their March 12th board meeting. So if you want any additional information, or if you want to just inform me of your intent, that would be great. If you could give me a call or shoot me an email. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Positions, Ms. Napolitano for now.
So before I go into positions, I'm going to walk on the investigations. So in the past, the board president did this. As a matter of fact, I was on the board twice when 2 different board members had investigations against them, and the board president and the had spoken to the attorney and gave a report. That was not done here today, and I don't know why, but I do know that I will
can tell you why.
Go ahead.
Because I don't think it's my place to speak for your investigation. But if you wanted to speak to it,
I'm absolutely going to, as the board president should give the community transparency. That's what was done in the past. You can watch the videos. And I know that Mrs. Panico did it for Mrs. Orgelis, and I believe it was the year for Mrs. Kennedy. I don't remember. Was it me? I think it was Mylin. I think Mylin did it. She was the president. So I'm going to give a synopsis after legal guidance. The investigation, which was broken up into 2 complaints against me, I self-identified at that meeting, and I am happy to let the community know that it was, they did the investigation, did a great job, a very fair job. And from the factual review of this matter, there is substantial evidence indicating that Trustee Napolitano-Furno did not engage in any inappropriate verbal altercation. There is a conclusion drawn from videos. And like I said, I just wanted many of the community to have full transparency on this, that both it's one investigation, both complaints were completely exonerated. And this is why I was very confident with videos and the evidence. I've dealt with investigations for the last 25 years, and it was pretty much a closed case, in my opinion, as somebody who's done investigations for many years. And I apologize to the community that they had to deal with this, but I'm hoping in the future, cooler heads prevail, and, we look for different ways and options before going to this route. As it is, I know that there are people in the community in the past and recently who would like to try to speak to me. I am at this point not willing to do that. Not willing to do that because I feel like there's no case here, and I don't think that we need to make a case out of something that's not a case. So I just want to let the community know, thank you very much to those who supported and believed in truth and transparency. I will forever believe truth and transparency always wins. Sorry, going on to position.
no, yep, thank you.
The positions I'm just gonna go over is just, I wanna make sure all are necessary and being looked into. I'm gonna tie that into the forensic audit that I'm requesting. This is from Mr. Hauser. I just want to see if we can go over the forensic audit. I wanted to see about done with the budget, especially with the amount of aid being cut and other expenses that have come up this year. I think it's important to see how our monies are spent and if it's spent, appropriately over the years, meaning to take a deeper look to see if we're overstaffed. Are we spending money appropriately across? I trust that you have done a fabulous job over the years, but I also see the decline in enrollment and the increase in staff, and I just want to see where we're at.
If you don't mind me asking, when you say forensic audit, are you looking for us to do that internally, or do you want us to go outside?
That's a good question. To be honest with you, I'm fine with, whatever the superintendent.
I think we take a bite of this apple internally.
Yeah, I'm not, it's not a trust issue because, Mr. Hauser, you are by far one of the best business officials I've ever worked with, and really appreciate all that you do. I know that your position is super tough. For those who don't know, you do a lot of work daily, so thank you for that.
Emails, Ms. Napolitano-Perno.
Okay.
Yeah, I did have.
Oh, did you want to jump on? Sorry.
I have I'm going a little bit of a different route here when talking about positions. I actually have a few questions for Mr. Kolahipar. Just based on some recent information, I was just wondering if you can tell me what kind of procedure is in place for when a teacher needs to call out sick or anything. Is there a procedure in place for when they need to do that?
We use a system called ASOP or Frontline, where teachers log in and they'll record their absence. It's an online system. So they record their absence and the next day the clerical staff will know who's out and we'll be able to plug in. And our subs on the other end of it can see who's out and can log in to this same system and put in where they want to go.
Okay. Another question I have. First, I'm assuming it's same elementary and secondary, same thing. Okay. What actually constitutes an extended absence? And is there documentation required for that or what type? I don't know if you can elaborate on that.
So with extended absences, there are times when there might be a medical issue or, we actually had an administrator who just was here this evening who his wife gave birth to a kid and he needed to take off for an extended period of time. He'll notify the district. As far as the teaching staff is concerned, if they're out for the flu or they're out for, COVID, they've notified us and they provide us with documentation that they're out for that reason. For the flu, they may call in every single day. So, it really is dependent upon what the illness is and the reason for their not being in.
And I don't know if you ever had a situation where there's no notice if somebody's going to be out, but if that's the case, you're able to fill the spot. I mean, they have to notify.
We have filled positions on a daily basis with teacher coverage, with subs who are regular subs or they come in pretty normally, regularly. So we try our best to do that, and we have. In some cases, we've had to plug teacher absences with TAs have sometimes gone into classrooms. If we can't find coverage, things of that nature. We've been trying to find subs, but substitute teaching is it's not just a district-wide, but Suffolk County, Nassau County, Long Island-wide issue that's not in the profession anymore.
And my last question about this is there a set pay rate for a teacher who does cover another teacher, or even in the instance you said a TA might, is there a set pay for them or?
So teachers do get paid a set rate based on whether they cover. I believe the rate is around $68 for the coverage. It may be a little less, so don't quote me on it. They do get a rate. I can get you that information. And the TAs do get a rate also. The TA's rate I know is $25 for every class they cover. So the teachers make a little bit more than that, whereas the TAs go in and their primary focus is to, if a lesson plan is left or when the lesson plan is left, they follow the lesson plan, but they take attendance, they monitor the classroom, things of that nature.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Emails, Ms. Napolitano-Forno.
So some want to circumvent the democratic process on misguided information. While here I have a true case for removal and violation of illegal Board of Ed meetings and actions discussed. A board member has clearly made it a targeted attack with an agenda with no basis for removal to just try to waste taxpayer dollars once again, making statements to myself and the other Miss, this is DiLorenzo, in regards to, I have 3 votes, I will remove you. And I just need this community to understand, we are dealing with a multi-million-dollar budget. We are dealing with hard times at Connecticut that we need to make very tough decisions. We do not need board members or a board member who their only reason for being on the board, as they've stated themselves, that is it not an email to be foiled? Do you want to really say that? Because they can be foiled.
The whole reason was to get rid of you?
Well, you made it clear that you had 3. Did you not state you have 3 trustees to remove
That
me?
was an executive session, not in an email.
It's actually in an email right here. It's in an email. Maybe you should check the
It was
emails.
an executive session.
It's right here. It's my email to you. And you admitting it.
Noted that
No, and you're admitting it.
during executive session.
No, it says it right here.
No, you.
And I hate
told me
to
there was an
explain to
executive
you,
session. I don't think we should be.
and I hate to explain to you,
I have
as
a problem.
the attorney's right there, not everything you say in executive, which as a matter of fact, I stated today, again, once again, in executive, you are going into public conversation. You are notorious, and that's why this is here, for making emails to circumvent giving community transparency. You are notorious for being an executive trying to speak about things that you'll never say in public. But I have no problem saying in public. So let's be very clear.
Is this board?
Maybe you should follow the rules, and instead of trying to get other 2 board members removed every week on some technicality that hasn't, it's really ridiculous. Maybe if you use that effort to actually help students and advocate the way we actually advocate for students and everyone knows it, then maybe you'd get a lot more done with that energy.
Budget support for athletic programs, Ms. Napolitano-Forno.
I would like to take a look at the budget line by line and see if we have some room to help our sports out. Over the years, we haven't really even looked at, I know we've looked at things giving athletics, but is there a way to bring in some extra help, some extra training? And also I wanted to go over something that I met someone who is fantastic, a woman, Leah. She is a health coach. She's a teacher / guidance counselor over at Ward Melville. She is a mental performance coach and speaker. She is now working in many school districts. Apparently, she was in May and possibly very recently, I would have to ask our AD, or if you could ask our AD, in regards to, she was speaking at a Section 11 speech. She did a speech. She is incredible. She does the potential of the athletes. She works with them, empowering parents and teens to cultivate mental fortitude and resilience. She embraces the journeys, not just the outcomes. She does such an incredible job. Her goal is to boost mental fitness amongst athletes and help individuals triumph over obstacles. Shattering limits, beliefs, she's amazing. Action and achieve remarkable results. She was so incredible that I sat with her and I was honestly taken back at what a motivational speaker she is for students just in general. Incredible. highly recommend us looking into something like this. Like I said, we keep talking about, as Marisol, you brought up before, mental health. And this is somebody who comes in and works with not just our athletes, she would work with the whole student body. She does motivational speaking, mental fitness, empowerment, mindset, mental performance coaching. Just incredible, incredible. For instance, she does things like, she said to me, the car ride home. When parents go on the car ride home with their kids, and they were just defeated, what do you say? What do you do? So many parents don't really know what to say, because everything you say is probably going to be wrong if they didn't win. So a lot of times, she said, she gave all sorts of ideas. She said to me, there's ways to praise an effort, not the outcome. Listen more, lecture less. Be a confident parent. Acknowledge and celebrate them when they do the right things, regardless if they win or lose. Reframe failure as necessary, not catastrophe. Like I said, she was on Channel 12 News on May 19th of 2023, as the Ward Melville High School has hired its first mental health coach, performance coach, to help their student athletes dealing with all the stresses that go along with not just sports, but school in general. I think this is a fantastic time to look at something like this and see how many other districts are doing it. I am highly motivated in actively advocating for this. She was, like I said, fantastic.
You have a last name?
Yes.
Okay, I will reach out to Mr. Mallory, ask him to look into it.
Thank you. That's actually an amazing program I'd like more information on too. Ms. Napolitano and Ms. Iannatelli.
So that was just that.
The email that came in from the community member. Isn't that what you guys, that's the Halloween, right? The community member had brought in that they wanted Halloween throughout the.
Yeah. So we've been advocating, as a matter of fact, if you go back and watch a public meeting from 2 years ago, I advocated for this 2 years ago when I said, Jesse's shaking her head. I was very strongly, and I felt bad doing it in public because I was told it's not very nice, but it's not being done to force any principals to do something. It's more of an encouraging all of our fabulous principals, and they are fabulous, our elementary fabulous principals across district, to please look into, I'm advocating, kindergarten to 5th grade. Let the kids wear costumes. Let them enjoy. They don't get to do this. They really don't get to do this. I have seen so many kids, like this year especially, we went to Sycamore, and it was the first year they allowed it.
In a long time.
And I have to tell you, when Cherokee, years ago, when my daughter was little, they didn't do costumes. They did a book cover that you had to make out of oak tag. And I just need to say this with love. While I think it was...
I didn't get away with a book cover this year.
That was not happening, and it won't next year either. While I thought it was cute, if you're not an artistic parent, it was extremely difficult for someone like myself. So I must say, I love letting the kids truly make a costume, wear a costume. Let them be kids. They don't get to do it for long. Let them enjoy it, even if they have to wear it for just their parade, and then they can't wear it all day, whatever the case may be. I would love to see it, and it doesn't affect my children. They aged out. I wish they were in elementary school, but I'm just saying, not for nothing. It is so nice to see kids smiling. It is so nice to see 4th and 5th graders be able to participate and be part of it. Can we please try to do equity across district and inclusivity? We keep talking about that, but that would really make a difference, and it's just one day. It's one day for them to have fun.
I'll just add that I do agree, and that Dr. C, if you could, speak on our behalf to the principals, we would appreciate it. And, obviously on behalf of the students, to allow them to wear the costumes. As Marisol pointed out, a parent had written in about it, and that's why it's coming up now. I know it's odd because it's in October, but she figured if we started early, maybe by the time that came, it actually all would be in place.
To say, we have advocated over the last 2 years, and because of such, I feel like we have seen more schools either allowing everybody to wear them, but not everybody gets to do the parade, allowing all of them to do the parade. I mean, years ago, it was really just kindergarten and 1st grade. And in some schools, like I said, I know, and I'm going back, like I said, like a decade ago, when it was Cherokee, and I was a Cherokee parent, it was only the book covers, like, so everybody did Dr. Seuss, because you could buy the hat, and it was easy to make the book cover. That's about it. But I would love to see it, and anything you can do to encourage it, and encourage as many principals to be Elf on the Shelf with us next year as possible.
You want to see the soup on the roof with Dr. C in the tree?
I want to see, I want to see Mr. Allen and you have everybody on harnesses everywhere across the district.
So let's change the topic. Speaking of Dr. Seuss, I think, is it Friday? Is that, when's Dr. Seuss Day? I think it's Friday.
Oh, I love it. I love that.
Yes. So you could dress in costume as Dr. Seuss or one of the favorite characters.
I also am 100% in favor of Halloween K through 5. I remember my kids were in Sycamore, and once you came out of kindergarten, you weren't allowed to wear costumes. So let kids be kids, right? They're only kids once. The next topic is breakfast lunch program that Ms. DiLorenzo and I have put on, but I have already had my questions answered. I don't know. if
Yeah,
you
I
have-
already asked everything I needed to before.
So moving on to high school food pantry, Ms. Anita.
Yeah, so many people don't realize that our high school has a food pantry that is run by the ninth grade assistant principal, Lauren Neckin. This program is for any student, any family that is in need of food or toiletries. This is, it's anonymous. No one would ever know that you needed this. You can go in, fill out a form. The senior class last year, they usually give a gift back. They donated a lot of food to this food pantry to keep it going. We have remarkable staff and teachers that also donate to keep the kids, so many kids circulating through that. They never give you a grocery bag. The secretaries actually deliver food to people's houses when they know they need a lot of food just to help them out. I mean, it's an incredible program, and anyone, like I said, can get food from there, and anyone can donate to this food pantry at the school. And you know what? When we think of donation, so many people give cans and cans of corn, beans, food, that they really need, pastas, sauces, the mac and cheese where you don't need the butter and the milk to go with it. You need things that are easily to prepare, and there's no extras to go in it because people can't afford the extras. And, this is helping families out. I'm trying to think. I just want to make sure I caught everything there. Again, remember, completely confidential. You just have to go to the ninth grade assistant principal office. Again, there is a form, and anyone you do not have to, that you could, you don't have to fit any criteria. Anyone can get food. And if you are hungry at school that day, you can get food. So please, I encourage people to donate, and I encourage anybody who's in need to please go down to the office. Like I said, incredible staff, incredible program that we have this pantry in place.
Thank you. Operation Drop Hat, Ms. Napolitano-Furno and Ms. DiLorenzo.
So I just want to piggyback on Dr. Centimore. It was amazing. I was fortunate enough to come from work and be able to participate on both sides in my official capacity on the job and also here as a board member. It was beautiful. Great job by a whole OBMS schools social studies class and their teachers for collecting hats for their friend Anthony. A special thanks goes out to Mr. Berger and Olivia. Anthony, who founded Operation Hat Drop, collects new hats for children who suffer from hair loss due to cancer, alopecia, and various medical reasons. He is really an amazing young fella. He came up to us. He took pictures with us. He was just beautiful. His father, amazing man. Really, what they're doing is beautiful. What a great job by all who made this happen. Thank you to again, the admin at OBMS, to the principal, assistant principal, to all the teachers, staff that helped, to our wonderful Dr. C for being there, for all of the central office staff that was there. But also, thank you to all the wonderful various police departments. They had NYPD, MTA Police, SDPD, PBA. They joined and they donated hats. Just such a great showing. It was amazing. Thank you again to OBMS for the invite. Beautiful event for a wonderful cause. You guys, it really was top notch. Thank you for doing that.
I echo everything that you just said. It really was amazing. what a brave, incredible young man this little boy was. It's really amazing because he took something in his life, he turned it around to really, really benefit others. And it's incredible. He's a role model. He's a little tiny guy, and he's such a wonderful little person to look up to. God bless him for this, and all the people that did donate, all the police departments. Thank you for taking part in this. Thank you to Olivia, Mr. Berger, everybody that did this, Central Administration, everybody that was there. It was a wonderful event to watch. I got to go there that morning, and it was really, really fantastic to see this little guy make such a huge difference. So congrats to him, and thank you to everybody who made this happen.
And if I could piggyback, Mr. Berger brought that from OBMS, and he was able to reach out to Miss Goodwin and Miss Sender at the high school. By the end of that week, they had collected several hundred more hats. That young man, little Anthony, he was, very inspirational. Just so you know that that young man is a big dinosaur fan. So on behalf of his friends at Connecticut Schools, Mr. Berger was able to bring over to young Anthony a little dinosaur hat. Just to show how we're all connected, right? Little Anthony might be from Massapequa, but he now has friends for life in Connecticut, 2 communities from 2 different counties coming together. This also ties in with, what we do with our food pantry. This is the hallmark of Connecticut, of how we come together to help our people here in our community and our outreach across the island.
Beautiful, really. It really was. And honestly, one of the nicest things I've seen done here. It was awesome.
Thank you. Newsies, Ms. Napolitano, Ferno, Ms. DiLorenzo.
What can I say? I absolutely love the plays. I could go every night, and I wish my children were in plays. I never had that. I never had that experience to be a parent, to be able to put something in. So I try to make my way to write something in every one of the brochures, from me to all of them, because I think they're just so fabulous. These young people, I can't wait to see where these young people go. They did an amazing job at Newsies. It was so incredible, and it was hilarious when I saw that they had the president come down the steps, and it was none other than Dr. C himself. I got that on video if anyone wants to see. But I just want you to know that the kids loved it. He was up there singing and dancing with them. He was. You did good. You really play a very good Theodore Roosevelt.
I thought you said don't quit my day job.
I did say that, but that was only after tug of war because you were horrendous. And I'm not too happy about basketball either. But I got high hopes. I got high hopes for you though. And I cannot wait from Mamma Mia. I have to be very honest with you. It's one of my favorite plays of all time. So I am looking forward to, and Connecticut High School smashes it every time, much like OBMS, much like RMS. I mean, these kids, fantastic. People, I try to go, and then I try to post on social media to encourage others to go. And I'm honestly saying, go. I'm telling you, it's a great time. I bring my parents, I bring whoever is in the neighborhood. I'm like, come, you're going to love this. And they do. Even if you don't have children in it, it is incredible to watch. I hope that they have sellouts for Mamma Mia. And again, Newsies was incredible.
Yeah, again, I have to echo everything you said. It was absolutely amazing. These kids are incredible, that they just, they're so young, and yet their performance is huge. They're really, really amazing. And me too. I keep begging my kids, please get into theater. I mean, I did it. I stood on that same stage doing The Wiz many years ago. I was a munchkin, and unfortunately for me, my costume fell down. So I've been through it. But you know what? It was watching these kids take that on is amazing. Their talent is tremendous. And I loved it. I just simply loved it. My kids loved watching it. It was great. And again, I'm looking forward to Mamma Mia. And of course, Dr. Senamore, you were, yeah, that was fantastic watching you up there with the kids. It was perfect. Really, really great. Great job to everybody. Great job to the staff that put this together.
I was going to say.
Yeah, amazing job. RMS, OBMS, the music teachers, everybody, the stage crew, again, that's, we don't see them. They're in the dark, and they're doing their job. And what a job they do to make sure that everything runs smoothly for the actors on stage. Fantastic job to everyone.
I have to echo both of your sentiments. I mean, I went on closing night. I went on the last night, and it was just so amazing. And what amazes me more, and also, is that these music teachers split the cast. So these students learn 2 roles, so that there's an understudy for every character. That amazes me. Not only do they perfect one role, they perfect 2 roles. And they mishmash it and they play them both amazing. So great job to the staff, great job to the kids. It's just amazing. Okay, can I please have a motion and a second?
Wait, I just have one more thing.
Did you want to? That's okay.
I just wanted to take this opportunity to quickly thank a small group of teachers. Took about 30 to 40 kids to Italy over the break. And I just wanted to tell them thank you because they gave these kids a great experience, immerse them in culture, and honestly go above and beyond. So I want to thank Ms. Sosa, Mr. and Mrs. Leonard, Mr. Dulce, Mrs. Pers, and Mr. Furtman. So I want to just say thank you for going above and beyond and taking the time out of your holiday to give it to the kids. Thank you.
That's great. Ms. DiLorenzo, you had?
Yeah, I had something that I wanted to address as a member of the Mental Health Advisory Council. I have something, and before I go through this, I do want to state that this is solely from me. I'm only speaking for myself, and I'd like to read this. CTA leadership continues to insist on the creation of a mental health task force. As for the Mental Health Advisory Council, which has been thriving for over 2 years, it is thriving. He has now learned of the extensive work that has been done thus far, as well as future plans. However, he remains committed to his idea that the council is not addressing the needs of our students and staff, despite the recommendations from our very own mental health professionals. Besides his complete disregard for their expertise in their field, his treatment of these women is narcissistic and chauvinistic. Upon addressing them, his tone is condescending and abusive. His attempts to belittle them is really appalling. He should be ashamed of himself, and we should demand better moving forward. I don't know what kind of precedent and example we are setting by allowing this to continue. But at this point, he has now moved on to claim that the mental health task force needs to be created to deal with day-to-day issues students may have, as well as activities such as campaigning to legislators and lobbying. However, not only those day-to-day issues the responsibility of building administration, but they cannot be discussed openly in a task force or committee forum, as that could open the door to potential FERPA violations for those students. As for campaigning to legislators and or lobbying, that is absolutely something CTA leadership is well within their rights to do, with or without a task force. Interestingly enough, in a November email, he stressed the growing mental health crisis since the COVID-19 pandemic. That pandemic was 4 years ago. So CTA leadership has had 4 years to lobby and advocate for more mental health support for our students and staff. And one would wonder, what is he waiting for? In the meantime, this is how the leadership has spent time. On September 8th of 2020, stood outside central office, right outside here, screaming through a megaphone that schools were not safe enough for his members. Ironically, now in the article that was cited in his November email, quotes a Dr. Erickson Schroth, who states research shows that social isolation and loneliness are risk factors for poor mental health, poor physical health, and actually predict earlier deaths from all causes. And we now know that social connection and community decrease depression and suicidality. Also, in January 2022, he and the then CTA vice president took to Newsday and a variety of other media outlets to complain that the district was not enforcing mask mandates. And the vice president, with the support of the president, blamed his illness on students he was tasked with protecting and serving. Ironically, he was certainly well enough, though, to sit through an interview with Kristen Thorne of ABC News to complain about it. For someone who claims to care so deeply about mental health, I really want to remind the community about behavior that occurred at the October 25th, 2022 Board of Education meeting. We had a very special presentation that night from a woman who was a victim of child sex trafficking and exploitation. Rather than listening to her story and heeding her advice to the community with regard to such a serious and very scary situation, CTA leadership spent the time giggling, having side conversations. The disrespect they showed toward this woman was absolutely atrocious. Afterwards, an email was sent to the Board of Education criticizing the presentation, claiming it takes up precious time to discuss the contract. At the close of that same meeting, CTE leadership became extremely abrasive because they did not want the board to spend time discussing the lunch program. Treatment of two current sitting trustees after that meeting ended was all we needed in order to see his true intentions. Since the endorsement of those two trustees, he was attempting to use blackmail and bullying tactics. I quote his own words to them: "You ask for our support, you don't do one thing." Further, his words to one of them, the woman standing alone on stage, were, "You're an embarrassment to be on our school board." These are words that should be highly embarrassing for a man in a leadership position that is expected to represent hundreds of staff members. Is this how our T-Bird is to be represented? It's disgusting. We've recently learned, and we're dealing with this, we discussed it tonight, of our foundation aid cuts. Over time, we may see these cuts have significant impacts to our district, only time will tell. But without having the ability to see into the future, I personally believe it is haphazard to put more funding towards mental health staff when we already spend around 4.9 million on salaries. We have a truly dedicated mental health department, and we provide our students and staff with continuous training and services. I trust their professional judgment, and I believe that we as a board are always committed to fulfilling what they may need. CTA leadership needs to remember that ConnectWhat money is not unlimited. Our taxpayers do not have open checkbooks. Financial struggles in today's times are real. And I do not want to see our district have to make staff cuts in other areas in order to satisfy the leadership's preposterous and desperate need to create a platform for this year's upcoming Board of Education election. The foundation cuts not only hurt the students, but our teachers as well, many of whom also live in our district. They do matter too. And that is why there is a huge push from PTAs at multiple levels to advocate against these foundation cuts. They are doing their part. Our district administration is actively working on advocating through and with local lawmakers and government officials. They're doing their part. 3 trustees attended an advocacy event, and our board has drafted a letter to Governor Hochul. We are doing our part. The only ones left out is CTA leadership. What a shame. After multiple emails showing how out of touch the leadership is with reality regarding mental health, I strongly urge them to spend less time behind the keyboard and more time in Albany lobbying and putting students first, doing something that could really truly help this district. Make attempts to unite with those who are already working together. I will never support piercing the tax cap as he implied in one of his emails, but I would absolutely support advocating to legislators and Governor Hochul to help us get our state aid back, as well as more funding to address the needs of our staff and students. Thank you.
Jack, that was incredible. And I 100% back every single word you just said.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else have anything for board discussions? Okay. Can I please have a motion and a second to suspend the business meeting?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Can I please have a motion and a second to call the public hearing on the income eligibility for real property tax exemption for persons age 65 and older and persons with disabilities and limited income?
I thought we were pulling this.
No, we're going to discuss it and then we're going to have.
Right, so this is the public hearing on it, so Mr. Hauser is gonna provide some information
Okay,
to the
we're not
board.
voting on it,
There-
though.
There is no resolution.
There is no
for the
vote,
board to
Okay.
consider.
I didn't know if you guys were walking one on as.
Nope,
was
nope,
discussed.
there's no vote.
Okay,
I just need a motion and a second to call the public hearing.
motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Mr. Hauser?
A public hearing, and I will defer to counsel, Mr. Spencer, to guide me in this as well, since it's fairly complicated. So, the town of Islip recently adopted what's called Option 2 for the senior citizens exemption under the Real Property Tax Law 467. And also the persons with disabilities exemption, which is a separate part of the Real Property Tax Law 459C. There are, am I correct, 3 options that are set forth, and each one has its own ramifications in terms of the individuals who may apply for the exemption, and also, I'll say the community as a whole, the tax base, how that would be affected as well. Under option 2, which is what the town of Islip adopted, and they're recommending school districts adopt, and you can see on the slide here, I think there's 5 other school districts, neighboring districts, that have adopted the same option number 2. I'll say that option is the least restrictive, if I'm using the word carefully here, in that it does not allow either a senior citizen or a disabled person to exclude from their income to qualify for the exemption, whereas option number 1 and option number 3 would be more flexible and allow more senior citizens and more persons with a disability to qualify for the exemption. Mr. Spencer, do you want to add anything to what I?
Right, so very, very briefly, just to regurgitate a little bit of what Mr. Hauser said. So essentially the backdrop for this is that leading up to this, the definition of income has been modified, right, and made it in such a way that more individuals that fall within these 2 categories of people, in other words, the disabled and those over 65, would qualify for the exemption. Okay, now what's being proposed is these 3 options that Mr. Hauser has put in front of you. And to reiterate those options, the first option would be to exclude non-taxable Social Security benefits from the definition of income. That would result in more qualified applicants. Excuse me. The second option, right, which is what the town has endorsed, and several school districts also within the town of Islip, would require the inclusion in the definition of income of federally taxable IRA distributions and federally taxable annuity payments. Okay, that would result in less qualified applicants for the 2 exemptions. The third option would require the district to offset from income any paid but unreimbursed medical and prescription drug expenses, resulting. This again would, like option 1, would result in more qualified applicants at this point. So at this point, the town and or the state does not have the numbers for you in terms of how many additional qualified applicants there would be as a result of the change in definition. That's part of the endorsement for option 2, which would constrict that a bit more. It's more of a safeguard for the school district to kind of mitigate any impact on those individuals in the district that don't qualify for any exemption. So just to kind of make sure that everyone's clear, the state does not essentially pick up the tab for the individuals who are receiving the exemption. The taxable amounts that are not being paid by those that qualify are being picked up by the remainder of the Connecticut community.
And I'll just offer another clarification here. When individuals are eligible for certain exemptions, it has the effect of shifting the school tax burden. So as a school district, we set a levy, and that amount of money has to be collected from the community to support the school district. When individuals apply for these exemptions and they qualify for those exemptions, typically a portion of their assessed valuation on their primary residence is excluded. So they don't pay, in this case, a school tax on that portion of their primary residence, the value. So in a sense, if an individual qualifies and they're exempt from paying a portion of their school tax, someone else or some other body of people have to pick up that tax. So it's not as if the school district never collects it. One way or another, the district will be whole in its levy. It's just, and Mr. Spencer alluded to this, the town doesn't know how many people are going to be eligible for these exemptions. So they're not able to tell us that the effect on our tax rate here at the district, it's too early to be able to provide that information to us. So that option two, I think, tends to be, I'll say, more of the conservative option.
I would say that, yes.
Does anybody have any questions for either Mr. Spencer or Mr. Hauser? All right, so the board is actually going to consider a special meeting towards the end of this week in order to vote on a resolution on this matter. Does anybody in the public want to comment or speak to this? Okay. Can I please have a motion and a second to adjourn the public hearing on the income eligibility for real property tax exemption for persons age 65 and older and persons with disability and limited income?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Can I please have a motion and a second to reconvene the business meeting?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Does anybody have any comments on the public, the consent agenda? Okay. Can I please have a motion and a second to approve the financial matters, items 2 through 8?
Motion.
Right, are you gonna? Are there any questions from the board? All in favor? Aye. Can I call for a motion and a second to approve items 2, 3, 5 through 12 of the consent agenda?
Motion.
I want to ask you something. Hold on.
Yep,
The MOA.
that's item number 4. It's being pulled.
Why is it being pulled?
Trustee asked for it to be pulled
Which trustee?
for a
Okay,
separate vote.
I know,
Yep.
well, it's called transparency.
Yep, Ms.
I
Iannatelli.
asked for it.
Okay, well, we know you have an axe to grind. I just wanted to make sure that I knew it was definitely you and your axe.
You'll know when I vote.
Yep, number 4, MOA
I know it's an
CPA
axe.
has been pulled. So can I have a motion and a second to approve items 2, 3, 5 through 12?
Motion.
In the future, can we let us know as a board? We're supposed to know when people pull something for a separate vote. I've never heard of a silent pull something for a separate vote. I mean, I understand you guys might have private meetings, illegal board
Actually, I
meetings.
asked Jess.
But if you could just let us know, that's how it's supposed to be done, is you're supposed to say, can you pull that for a separate vote?
I believe she asked Jesse to pull it for a separate
Okay,
vote.
and like I said, is that what happened, Jesse?
She informed me that she wanted to, so I did tell her when. I think there might be a little bit of confusion, which is on process, which we can cover separately, but at this point in time, it's been pulled for a separate vote. It will be
Right.
voted on separately.
But so just so that they learn, they're supposed to pull it in public for a
Correct.
separate vote. I mean, the president should know this and should be telling her, pull it for a separate vote, so we're all not standing here going, why is something being pulled for a separate vote?
Great.
And good
So
thing I
can
just said something, because I kind of saw it and I go, she's pulling it.
So can I get a motion and a second to approve items 2, 3, and 5 through 12?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions from the board?
Hold on. No, these are good.
So can I, all in favor for the approval as amended?
Aye.
Aye. Can I have a motion and a second to approve item number 4, MOA CPDA?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions?
Yes. Is there a reason we pulled it for a separate vote?
I I am not allowed to actually say. I asked legal counsel and I am unable to give a position on it. I can just vote.
She can't speak to it in public. It's an executive session now.
It's an MOA. I understand, but I'm saying it's an MOA.
If I talk to you right now and explain why she's not voting that way,
I'm just saying.
disregarding my own advice to you.
No, duh. Listen, I know
Take it
that
with a
there's
grain of
certain,
salt
there's,
that
well,
you can't talk about it.
right, but we know why it's being pulled for a separate vote. We understand that it's okay.
I'm
not speak
telling
for
you,
me.
Okay, I'm gonna speak
can't
in
be
general.
discussed in
I'm gonna speak in general. So in general, in the past, I'm just gonna give a little background here from other positions, because you can speak about positions. So in the past, positions were lobbied for changes, and we did it. No issues. Even if I wasn't really, I don't know, love the person's personality or whatever but I never really held grudges. I now see that we have a board member who holds grudges. I just gotta throw that out there. So I'm gonna do it in the truth is what I'm doing.
I'm going to do a roll call vote. Ms. Iannatelli?
Well, I'd like to speak on that because now in general,
Go ahead.
I'd like to say that I would never hold a grudge towards a teacher or any staff member in the school. When it comes to money, we have to make decisions, and this is my decision that I'm going to make. Now you may take the roll call.
Ms. Iannatelli?
I have free butt. I'm sorry. So let me just understand this, okay? So we care about money that someone or a position should have gotten years ago, but wasn't because of maybe grudges again, whatever the case may be. But we don't care about, this is what I get a kick out of, but we don't care about selling our lunch staff. Hey, you 5 work from 8 a.m.
That's money.
For
That's
4.
money.
I just want to make sure that I'm glad you're saying it in public. You want our lunch staff to not be, you don't want us to follow contractual obligations.
No.
Instead, you want to try to do more with less, and then we wonder why our children are the ones
I'm
that
just
suffer.
going to remain on task and
it was you're the last person in the world I would take
Your
advice
opinion,
from.
either.
And you know who told me that?
Here's what I will
the
say.
Basti PTA years ago. I just want to throw that out there.
Do not feel that things from years ago should be coming up now.
we are going to remain on task and we are going to vote on item number 4.
That really does count for finances.
Ms. Iannatelli, how do you vote?
No.
Ms. DiLorenzo?
Yes.
Ms. Napolitano-Ferno?
100,000% yes.
I'm a yes.
Do right by people who do right by Connecticut.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Thank you.
And can I just say, I have to say this, thank you to the 4 of you for doing what's right. Doesn't have to be anything else, doing what's right.
I will now open the floor to the open public comment portion of the agenda. I will call individuals forward one at a time. Please wait for my acknowledgement before stepping up to the podium. You should have received a number card from security on your way in. If you have not, please see a security guard in the back of the room. Any person wishing to address the board shall address the board president. Comments should be kept as brief as possible and relate to school matters only. Each person will be limited to 3 minutes for 1 or more topics. Individual employees, parents, or children should not be identified by name, title, position, grade, or building. The use of foul language and threatening comments will not be tolerated, and the board will consider a recess until order is restored. In accordance with policy 1230, public comment will not exceed 30 minutes. If there are additional persons wishing to speak, the board may consider a motion to extend that time. Number 1.
So, first I'd like to tell you that the plays we've seen, I love the fact that you include everybody. We did Daddy Warbucks or Annie Jr., and they required someone to be in a wheelchair, and we found some young man, and he played the part perfectly. I mean, it is so inclusive. It's really great to see us using everybody who wants to be involved. It's great. But the real reason I'm up here is because a while back someone was saying that it is detrimental. The tax cap is detrimental to our spending. And you know what? They're right. And you know what? It's supposed to be. We are supposed to have a tax cap. It is supposed to be detrimental to just spending money like a bunch of drunken sailors on shore leave after 4 months at sea. That cap is placed so that you have a ceiling that says this is what we can spend. This is what we will have to put in front of our taxpayers. This is what we'll have to put in front of our parents. This is what we are going to spend to educate all these children. There's a lot of pieces there that you've got to put together. But that tax cap is there for specifically that reason. So when you see the tax cap and someone says to you, oh, it's detrimental to spending, your exact answer should be, yes, you're right, and it should be. So thank you for, let's keep the taxes down, let's try and make things better, let's try and use every resource we can as efficiently as we can, because that's why we put you here.
Thank you. Number 2?
Good evening. Kudos to all the wonderful things that happen here, the trip, Model UN, the plays. We do a wonderful job, give our students wonderful opportunities. So I am a proud member of our community that will say that I am proud to be here. On a separate note, I had mentioned a few meetings ago about having issues with the swiping in and the attendance. I believe the issue was that my daughter is showing excessive tardiness because she goes to BOCES in the morning and does not report to school until 10:45. They leave BOCES, get there. So if she is not in school to take the bus to BOCES, she is not swiping in until she gets there after her BOCES. So her official document, her report card, is showing that she has 48 latenesses. I have asked how we rectify this. I was told to contact the school. I spoke with attendants. I spoke with an administrator. They said that they would do it manually, that if she's not swiping in, she is being marked tardy. She's not tardy because she's not supposed to be there. So for her to swipe in doesn't make sense when she doesn't have to be somewhere until 10:45. They did say they would do it manually, but as of 8:30 this evening, when I checked Parent Portal, it still showed for marking period 2 that she had 48 latenesses. I'm just concerned because as an official document, this is what it's showing. So I know that swiping in is a new thing, but it's now February. I don't know how many students this is affecting because most of the kids, I would assume, go to the high school, take the bus to BOCES. Mine doesn't. So how are we going to fix whatever needs to be fixed? Who do I contact? What are we doing?
Just give me a couple minutes after the board meeting. Just give me a couple more details. I will follow up tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. On a side note, you guys are so important to making the decisions here in Connecticut. It's not an easy job. I don't envy any of you. It's not a job I would want to do. I just think that as a community member, if we want our kids to be nice to each other that have differences, I think how you speak to each other is so important, and that you don't have to love everybody, you don't have to like everybody, but when you represent the community, I think it's really important to think about how you're being perceived by the many people that are watching on YouTube, because sometimes it can be a little embarrassing as a person of the community that is in other school districts. People are saying things that reflect where I'm from and where I love to be. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you so much. Number 3. So I'm just curious. I want to know
how much Melissa Taragrosa is responsible for to taxpayers for the ridiculous lawsuits she brought up. Because when she's campaigning and I'm knocking on doors, I want to have the right amount to tell people. How do I get that information? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Number 4. Does anybody else wish to speak?
Sorry, I don't have a number. I wasn't planning on speaking. I just wanted some clarification on your MOA 4 of the consent agenda. Was it a lack of transparency between the board and in addition to the hostility, or an oversight that the contractual agreement that you guys were discussing that was all kind of vague is super clear on board docs, which I've been following around. I usually do on my phone. And it's, it was about a very esteemed director of the district who was appointed in 2016, who was supposed to get a raise in 2022, I think it said. I didn't hear any of that. I had to read about it myself. So everybody else out there in YouTube world, was that a lack of transparency or an oversight?
Are you asking about why it was pulled or
I'm
the
asking
MOA itself?
Why it wasn't actually discussed. It was all kind of just hostility,
I don't think,
no specific.
I asked if anybody had any questions about it. I don't think anybody had any questions or any discussion items about it.
I think what he's asking is, our attorney advised us not to speak about it in public, but what we should have done, possibly, Doug, no offense to you, I love you. No, this isn't about him. I should have, I swear, no, he's awesome. He's awesome. Love him. I believe the mistake was that April didn't want to speak about it or wanted to, but didn't know what to say. And I was getting my point across when really we should have just read from the, because what you guys are reading online is technically public information. So we could have done that. Unfortunately,
I can understand not having a discussion, but yeah, I would think reading off of.
Unfortunately, over the years, as you probably are aware of, because you followed board meetings for many years, I know that. There have been people that I didn't want to personally vote for as Jackie Napolitano-Ferno, but as Jackie, the board member, you do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. Unfortunately, we should have read that so that you guys could understand more. And you are right. Truth and transparency is important. And again, because it's personnel, it's hard to speak about in public.
Okay.
And I think the confusion comes too from the fact that typically, I'm new here, but over years I've been coming, and when you get to the consent agenda, I think I've ever remembered and saying, oh, something's already been pulled. Usually it's, we have questions, and then it's, I'd like to pull it, and you table something. So I think the process appeared to be very hush-hush, because I believe it was. We had no idea it was being pulled. Are you finished? I'm speaking. We had no idea that it was going to be pulled. Usually that's very, very transparent. And then we can discuss what we can discuss. But that's part of the problem. We entered into the consent agenda where we didn't even know what was going on.
And I would take full responsibility for that.
Not really fair to the community either. So I think that's part of where
Should have been read.
came from.
And
It was very clear on.
I'm just, before you do, I'm just going to let him finish his 3 minutes. Great, thank you.
I want to just point out also, so that there's transparency to this, I was looking at this Board of Education Certified Personnel agenda for February 13th, and it's kind of like we approved an esports director with a, with a stipend. And my understanding is the whole board said yes to it. There was no question about saving that money, though. I guess it only depends on what director you're speaking about, huh?
Can I have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
Oh, wait, there's one other thing. I had requested with Dr. Centimore, and I apologize, I should have brought up our discussions, that I was dying to see the 5-year plan for the high school. I know I asked for that months ago. I also just recently asked for a 5-year athletic plan. I think that would be awesome to see. Do you think that we could get these in the next few weeks and get some I think this is really exciting. I'm so excited to see what our high school's gonna be doing, what our sports are gonna be doing. I think this is awesome. These are awesome things. And since it's the bell tower of Connecticut, as one of our old esteemed board members used to tell me, I would love to see that whenever we can.
Do you need the motion in a second again? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Have a good night, everyone.